Have you ever been sitting in front of a desk, laptop, or bookshelf and felt so stuck on what to do? You can't just stay there forever, but you can't decide what's the right thing to do either. There is a way out, however. This video will help you with getting unstuck and make decisions on what to do next. I know how hard it is to make decisions sometimes. You're looking at something and thinking about whether it's a good idea, and you can't decide if it's worth doing or not. To be honest with you, I've been there too. So I'm here to help by giving you some advice on making decisions faster and more easily, so you won't find yourself stuck in indecision for hours on end. To make decisions faster and more easily, it's important to understand your reasons for dithering, which may be due to fear of making the wrong choice. So, you're dithering, huh? You may be afraid of making the wrong choice. Or you may not know what you want to do or how to go about doing it. Or perhaps the decision will have major repercussions for your life and you're worried about making the right call. There is no wrong choice here. All options seem equally good or bad. If any of these apply to you, let me offer some advice. To make progress in life despite indecision, it's important to keep moving forward until something changes or forces a decision upon you. At that point, take the leap and move forward. It's also helpful to always keep asking yourself, what will it take? And making sure those conditions are met before giving up on what matters most in life. This can help you stay focused and motivated, even in the face of indecision. One way to overcome indecision and make decisions more easily is to take the pressure off of yourself. This can involve setting aside expectations or external pressures and instead focusing on what feels right for you and your own goals and values. Don't think about it for a while. It's often helpful to take a break from thinking about the problem and just let your brain process things for a while. Try taking a walk or going for a run, listening to music and letting your mind wander, or simply sitting quietly without worrying about it. This can help you gain perspective on the situation by allowing yourself time away from it. Don't let other people pressure you into making an immediate decision. Sometimes other people's expectations can be stressful enough that they'll make us feel like we have no choice but to rush into making one. But this can backfire in the end if we decide based on someone else's ideas instead of our own intuition. So if possible, don't let anyone pressure you into choosing something because they want something specific, even if they mean well. It may lead down paths that aren't right for your needs and goals in life anyway. Always go with what feels right inside rather than what others expect or assume is best based on their preferences alone. When faced with indecision, it can be helpful to consider the consequences of not taking action. What are the consequences if you don't act? If you don't act, when will you? The answer is now. This is why it's important to consider the consequences if we do nothing. If we do something else, then we may miss out on opportunities or get stuck in the same place. We might also not get a positive outcome or regret our choice later on in life. And the consequences if you do. What if this decision changes everything about who you are and what exactly it is that makes your world go round? You should think carefully about how this decision will affect everyone around you as well as yourself in the future. If there were two people in front of me right now asking me which one of them should get promoted or which one should get fired from their jobs at work, and let's say they both had excellent qualifications, I would choose one over another person because these things happen all the time in our careers. Some people just end up being better than others despite having equal qualifications on paper. In other words, when making decisions like this one, other factors involved like experience or personality traits isn't always considered during interviews, even though they should most definitely be taken into account when deciding who gets hired or fired. By taking the time to sit down and truly assess what is most important to you, you can create a clear roadmap for your life and make sure that you are always working towards your priorities. Find your priorities. In order to make an informed decision, you must find your inner voice. This is not an easy task for many people because they have spent their whole lives being told what to do. They were taught in school that there are right and wrong answers and that there is a correct way of life that everyone should follow. And this message was so strong that it became deeply ingrained in them, so much so that even if they went through life questioning the validity of these beliefs, it didn't stop them from doing what they've been told or feeling guilty about not following social norms. But it's time we all start listening to our own voices rather than being led by others' ideas of who we should be and how we should behave. We all have something inside us telling us what we value most. It may be love, family, friendship, or maybe adventure. The list goes on forever. It's up to each individual person who wants those things but hasn't found anything worthwhile yet, other than just dreaming about having one day. This could mean years spent thinking about potential partners without ever taking action until finally deciding, hey, wait a minute, I'm never going anywhere unless I try now. Write out the pros and cons of each decision. The first step in making a decision is to be clear about what you want. Write down the positive and negative aspects of each choice, as well as how you feel about each choice. Make sure to be honest with yourself about your feelings. Don't just list pros if one option makes your stomach twist with anxiety or disgust. Consider whether there are any other factors that would influence your decision beyond the ones on paper, for example, family, friends. If so, write them down as well. You want to keep these factors in mind when considering which choice might benefit you most overall, while keeping those people close at heart too. Even if it's hard, you must make decisions. You have to make a choice. Whether it's about what you're going to cook for dinner or whether you want to take the job in New York, there are times when you must decide on a course of action. You can't avoid making decisions. They are part of life, and they need not be stressful. The longer you wait, however, the harder it will be for your brain and heart to make a decision, because it has so much more time to worry about all possible outcomes and how those outcomes could affect your life down the road. And don't forget that making any choice is better than always being paralyzed by indecision. This is not to say that you should make snap decisions and regret them later. You shouldn't make a decision lightly. But if you're paralyzed by indecision, then your life will never move forward. If something is worth doing, it's worth doing well, even if that means taking time to research the issue before making a choice. In most cases, the world won't fall apart because you don't know what career path to take or where to go on vacation. But if you want to live an adventurous life full of new experiences and opportunities for growth, as opposed to one where everything feels like routine, then it's important that you learn how best decision-making works so that when faced with tough choices, and there are many, you can always find ways around being paralyzed by indecision. Acknowledge your fear of making the wrong choice. Talk yourself through your fear, reminding yourself that you can always change your mind later if it turns out that you made the wrong choice. Recognize that this fear is irrational and doesn't stand up to scrutiny, but remember that it's still a very real feeling in the moment, and it may take some time to work through. It's okay to admit that you're having a hard time making a decision. Sometimes we become so focused on making the right choice that we forget to slow down and assess what matters most to us in our lives. If you have difficulty deciding on something, it's likely because your internal compass is pointing in several different directions. This can be frustrating because it makes you feel like you're not making progress toward whatever goal or dream you're trying to pursue. But if this happens often enough, then maybe it's time to reevaluate how much value of being right has put into your life, and whether or not this status quo really serves your greater purpose anymore. It's important to remember that you don't have to make a perfect choice, but you do have to make some choices. Making decisions takes time and energy, and sometimes it's easy not to decide when there are no immediate consequences. This is especially true if the decision isn't urgent. But in order for your life to move forward, you need to make some kind of decision, even if it's just a small one. If nothing else, this will give you confidence going forward as well as practice at making decisions that don't feel so major. Each choice has its own learning curve. Each one also has its own benefits and drawbacks. but they're all opportunities for growth. Tell yourself that this isn't a permanent decision. Now that you've made a big decision and gotten through it, it's time to look at the bigger picture. The world is full of people who have had to make major life changes because they learned from their mistakes or changed their minds about something important. In any case, even if you made a wrong choice now, that doesn't mean your life will be ruined forever. You can choose to start over again in many ways. New job opportunities come up all the time. And even if you don't switch careers or find another path in life that makes more sense for what you want out of life, maybe because this is just one lesson, making lots of mistakes is an important part of growing up and becoming an adult. And sometimes those mistakes are really beneficial when looked back on later in life because they taught us something valuable about ourselves or helped us realize our limits so we know what we should avoid doing next time. I know it's hard to make a decision, but it's not always as complicated as we think. When in doubt, ask yourself what you would do if you knew that your decision was going to be permanent and never changed. This will help clear up any confusion about what matters most to you at this moment, so that when the time comes for action, there won't be any more excuses. The process of decision-making itself can contribute to feelings of loneliness. When we're faced with tough choices, we often turn to others for advice and support. But if we don't have strong relationships or a sense of community, we may feel more uncertain. I know firsthand how hard it can be to cope with loneliness. That's why I'm so glad to share this video. It really helped me understand what was going on and gave me some great ideas for how to feel more connected and fulfilled. I think it could really help you too. Watch this.